Hello and welcome to another Warhammer Underworlds basics video where I will talk about some tips and tricks that have helped me get better and improve my win rate over the years. And for your viewing pleasure I arranged it into a top 10 list because people tend to like lists, and I've also added in a cheeky number 11 tip just to mess it up. So let's get started, and of course don't forget to like, subscribe and hit all the buttons, and if you feel particularly altruistic consider becoming a member. As a member you'll receive early access to all my stuff as long as I have it ready before regular release, and I usually do. You'll also have a greater influence on what type of content I put out, and you'll also receive a nice little shout out at the end of every video I put out. That's enough self-promoting, let's get cracking, and these are in no particular order I guess. So number 1, know your warband. Kind of obvious I guess, but know your warband's strength and weaknesses and work towards utilizing its strength as much as possible and minimize your glaring weaknesses as much as possible. Remember all the synergy of reactions, inspired conditions and card interactions. Go over your warband's cards before a game, just like preparing for an exam, even if you think you know them. As the seasons progress, warbands tend to get more intricate in their keywords, reactions and what have you, so you really can't be too well prepared. Number 2, know your opponent. This one is at least as important as the first one. You don't have to flop around all warbands in a game like me and my co-host, but showcasing games on YouTube is quite different from playing without a camera in your face. Still, keeping up with new releases and reading through the fighter cards and decks on something like UNDERWORLDS DB to have at least a basic grasp on all of the fighter cards in all of the warbands is a good idea. If you're going to a tournament, you should have a basic knowledge on all possible opponents, how they inspire, what fighters to be wary of, how they score their big UCN phases, etc. Blocking enemy glory can be as crucial as scoring your own sometimes. Number 3, play to score your objective deck. Well duh, you might say, but this one is really important. It's so easy to get tunnel visioned into making a charge or attack that looks tempting but doesn't really further the goal of your objectives. Warhammer Underworlds is won by getting through your objective deck mainly, not simply smashing the enemy team as quickly as possible. If you have a 100% chance of gaining a glory from an objective by stepping onto an objective token instead of making a 50% attack that might seem tempting, you should probably not make that attack, generally speaking. A game of Warhammer Underworlds is played over the course of 12 activations. If we take the end phases into account, where we ideally score 6 of the cards, we need to be scoring a search card every other activation or so. And you don't do that by making attacks that don't score you those searches. So number 4, have a clear focus in your deck. Are you playing aggro, control or hold? Or are you trying to do everything at the same time? Build accordingly. Avoid trying to cover every base in your deck. Odds are you're not going to draw up your entire power deck, so if you're trying to build for all styles at the same time, you will simply have too little of each. Obviously there are cards that are useful for all styles, pushes in particular, but if you're playing hold you don't really need to take a bunch of +1 damage or +1 dice cards, as they don't really further the scoring of your objectives. Number 5, utilize card draw, objective, discard / draw. You might feel that you're wasting an activation or that you're being a boring opponent by drawing a card or discarding an objective card, but this option should not be underestimated. You might well have a starting hand even after the mulligan that's super rough, and if you don't really need to make an attack first round, or first activation at least, redrawing an objective might well be worth it to get the deck moving. Getting through your searches is vital to see your win rate go up. Number 6, board and feature token placement. This is a part of the game which is often overlooked or kind of briefed over, especially for beginners, in the name of just getting started and playing the game. But the best players have really owned this crucial part of the game. Are you playing aggro, for example? Odds are you want to take the second board. Nothing sadder than an aggro team just moving up their fighters while the opponent cashes in on passive glory by strolling around on their objectives on home turf. If you're playing hold, odds are you will want to offset to create a funnel in the middle, ideally with some blocked hexes to help you further, or even longboard to protect your fighters. Longboard could be a great option for teams with a single strong defender fighter accompanied by a plethora of weaker ones like Kanan, even though I personally think longboarding is a bit of a douche move and seldom leads to fun games. It could certainly be very powerful. I'm not going to go all out on feature token placement, but if you're playing aggro, for example, you will most of the time want to give your opponent the first board, as I said, so you can attach the boards ideally in a straight alignment. This will make reaching many enemies easy and will expose their objectives to attacks more easily, and odds are you will want to place your first, maybe counterintuitively, objective in their half, for you could then effectively block them off from placing further tokens too deep on their half, and this forces their fighters forwards to claim objectives, and then you could neatly chop their little heads off. There's a lot more to this which will need an entire video of its own, but in the meantime there's some excellent articles on this facet of the game that you should definitely check out. Number 7, threat ranges. What are threat ranges, Precious? Well, threat ranges are a given fighter's move plus the reach of their weapon. So if, say, Karsus here is inspired, he has a move of 5 and a range of 2 with a chained axe, meaning that enemies 7 hexes away can be targeted by a charge from him, thus garnering him a threat range of 7. This is something to consider when deploying your crucial fighters, especially if you have like a very crucial fighter that raises other fighters. You don't want to be inside the threat range of your opponent. This is something to be wary of during the course of the game as well, naturally, and can decide if a push ploy is worth your while or a move is pointless or not. Number 8, don't be afraid to lose fighters. This kind of might sound like it goes against the previous tips, but it's really not. If you're playing aggro especially, you really can't be too cautious with your initial fighter placement. Sure, several if not all of your fighters may be exposed to charges from the enemy, but you want as many of your fighters to be eligible for charges as well. As mentioned previously, for an aggressive team to spend an entire round just moving up is sad, and you're probably on your way to losing if that's the case. Offense is the best defense sometimes. Number 9, don't stress your activation. You only have 12 activations, and each one is crucial and should further your game plan. Don't waste them. Minimize the forgetting of your upgrades, reactions, etc. It's such a bummer when you realize after the fact that you forgot to inspire, react, or what have you. If you're playing a friendly game, odds are some retconning might be allowed, but don't be the guy who constantly does this. It's annoying and frankly quite rude. Better than to just not stress, within limits of course. Taking forever is equally rude. Number 10, play against better players. If you have the opportunity to mix up your opposition, go out of your comfort zone and meet some truly strong ones. You'll learn a lot, be humbled, and return to your home turf stronger. If this means going to tournaments or playing online versus some truly greats over on the Discord, doesn't really matter. They will all make you into a better player. Number 11 is my extra little personal tip, and you can totally disregard this one, and if you're not comfortable with this, just skip to the end. Mind games. This is highly optional and should be used sparingly, but utilized correctly it could be really strong. This means, for example, luring your opponent to target a specific fighter that you in secret don't really need in order to protect someone else. Key here not to be too obvious in the appliance of this technique. In practice, this could mean mumbling under your breath, lamenting on how your supposed crucial fighter now is doomed, or praying that he'll survive the surely imminent attack, to deploy a smokescreen in front of the fighter you really want to protect. As I said, this is not something I encourage you to overuse, but once in a while it can be really powerful and a fun little side game to play. Of course, mix it up with being completely honest in your conversations to keep your opponent guessing. Subtlety is key here, and if you're not comfortable doing this, just skip it. If applied incorrectly, it'll probably do you more harm than good. So that's it. I hope some, if not all of these tips will help you in your Underworlds endeavors. Until next time, happy gaming and let the glory rain down upon you. This is Mats again, chiming in to thank you for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and comment, and to not miss out on future content, ring the bell as well. And if you really liked this video, feel free to click the thanks button just below this video. And if you want to support me even further, you can now become a channel member and claim the title of Critical Focus fan. Until next time, take care, bye.